All right, let's dive right in. We're about to break down the key lessons from a real-deal data analytics mentorship program, turning it into a masterclass on SQL. And look, this isn't just about the theory you read in a textbook. This is a practical blueprint for taking that knowledge and actually building a career with it. So, let's get to it.
So, our guide on this journey is none other than mentor Amaefule Chukwuemeka Timothy. What we're doing here is basically giving you a front row seat to one of his review calls on SQL. This is an expert-led session tailor-made to build skills that actually get you hired.
And this quote right here, this is the secret sauce. It's the whole philosophy that makes this mentorship so effective. The goal is to get you to stop just reading about stuff and to start doing it. We're moving into hands-on, practical workshops because that's where the real learning sticks.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the why, the story behind data itself. Then we'll decode the language you need to speak, SQL. After that, we'll see it all in action with some real-world problems. And finally, we'll lay out the 3 pillars you absolutely need to build a successful career.
First things first, before you can truly master any tool, you've got to understand the problem it was designed to solve. So, we're going to start with the story of data. We need to see where these databases we rely on today actually came from.
So, picture this. Back in the 60s, data was, it was a mess. It was stored in these things called flat files, which meant data was constantly getting duplicated, and finding anything was painfully slow. Then, in 1970, this brilliant IBM researcher, Edgar Codd, comes up with the relational model, organizing data into simple rows and columns. It was a total game changer. That idea laid the groundwork for SQL to become the standard, and now we live in this amazing world with all kinds of databases, from relational to NoSQL to the cloud.
And that brings us right to the language of data itself, SQL, or Structured Query Language. Think of a database as a massive library of information. Well, SQL is the language you use to walk in, ask incredibly specific questions, and get exactly the answers you need. For any analyst, this is the absolute core skill.
So, just how core are we talking? Well, if you look at job postings, over 70% of all data jobs list SQL as a requirement. Let that sink in. It's not just a nice skill to have on your resume. It's pretty much the price of admission to get into this field. Mastering this is just non-negotiable.
But here's something you really need to get. SQL isn't just one single thing. It's more like a Swiss Army knife. It's a whole family of commands for different jobs. You've got commands for building the database, for changing the data, for managing security. But for an analyst, one job stands head and shoulders above the rest: asking questions. And for that, we use DQL.
Now this is where we really zero in on what's most important for us. Data Query Language, or DQL, is all about pulling information out, and its main command, select, is the absolute heart and soul of data analytics. Honestly, this is where you're going to spend most of your time, pulling data to uncover those hidden insights. This is your bread and butter.
Okay, enough talk, right? Theory's great, but practice is where the magic really happens. It's time to bridge that gap and see how we can put SQL to work. This is where this whole mentorship approach really shines, because you're immediately taking what you learned and applying it to real situations.
So in his live demo, the mentor literally walks his students through the very first practical step, getting your data ready to go. And he breaks it down into the simple, repeatable process. You use a tool like MySQL Workbench, you create your database, you name it, and hey, pro tip, use underscores to avoid headaches later, then you import your data. And this next part is so crucial. Make sure you assign the correct data types. It's a clear workflow you can use for any project you start.
Okay, now let's apply this to an actual business challenge. Because, let's be real, the best way to learn anything is by solving a real problem.
This first case study is perfect. Imagine you're running a supermarket. You need to know which products are your superstars, and, just as important, which customers look like they might be about to stop shopping with you. By cleaning up the data and using some simple analysis, you can give your managers clear, actionable answers so they can decide what to promote and maybe what to get rid of.
And what's so cool about this is that the same way of thinking, the same analytical process, can be used in totally different fields. Let's take a look at a problem you might find in human resources. So here, an HR team is worried about good employees leaving. An analyst can jump in and use similar steps, calculate attrition rates, summarize the data, and flag people who might be at risk. That analysis helps the company come up with better ways to keep their best talent. See? It's the same fundamental process, just a different set of data. So, you've got the technical skills. But what's the difference between the people who really make it and those who fizzle out? Well, according to this mentorship program, it all boils down to your commitment. And that commitment is structured into 3 essential pillars. Think of this as your personal roadmap to success.
The first pillar sounds so simple, but it's probably the most important. Consistency. It's about showing up every week, getting your assignments in on time, and just being an active part of the group. Those small, consistent efforts, they compound over time into massive progress. It's a game changer.
The second pillar is all about being accountable and visible. The mentor makes his students keep a journal of what they're learning, post their progress publicly on places like LinkedIn, and have their projects checked every month. This isn't just about showing off, it's about building your professional brand and a portfolio before you even have the job.
And the final pillar is, well, it's total commitment. No half measures. This means you master the tools you need to use and you respect the rules of the program. Attendance is mandatory. There are real consequences. If you miss 3 meetings or assignments, you're out. It sounds tough, but it makes sure that everyone there is dead serious about reaching their goals.
And why all this structure? Why the tough rules? Because it flat out works. The mentor makes it crystal clear. If you put in this kind of focused effort, you can totally transform your skills, build a killer portfolio, and start seeing real job opportunities in as little as 2 months.
So, there you have it. We've walked through the why of data, the what of SQL, and the how of putting it all to work. And it's all guided by a proven roadmap for success. The blueprint is literally right in front of you. So the only question left is the one for you. What's the very first step you're going to take to build your own success story?